Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 154 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng and Elder Chenha looked at each other from afar. Wu Wei God Emperor immediately and quietly returned to the city, while Dai Qing also took the Void Nether Eye ship back to the city. Elder Chenha did not intercept them, as his target was Luo Feng. Elder Chenha. Luo Feng looked at the other party. Elder Chenha was dressed in a white robe, his appearance handsome, his skin like crystal jade, and he was enveloped in a faint halo of light, his aura restrained and seemingly ordinary. I thought some elder wanted to have a fight with me. Elder Chenha chuckled softly. Only now do I realize, it's just a junior who has recently broken through. So this is the confidence that allows you to disrespect me? Why should I give you respect? Luo Feng wore a look of surprise. Are you one of the 3 palace masters, or the leader of Guile Workshop? At this moment, around the east city gate of Yulon City, there were guards, some members of the Guile Workshop, and even some onlooking cultivators. The number of onlookers was still increasing rapidly. A confrontation between elders. Right outside the east city gate, a battle is about to break out. Many cultivators, upon receiving the news, were excited to come and watch. Clashes between elders in Yulon City were rare, and the opportunity to observe such a battle was even more precious. On one side is Elder Chenha, one of the 8 deputy leaders of the Guile Workshop. To be a deputy leader of the Guile Workshop, he must be extraordinary. On the other side is God Emperor Luo Feng, who doesn't have much fame, aside from having counterkilled a Guile Workshop raiding team. He should be a newly promoted elder-level figure. Elder Chenha has deep foundations, whereas Luo Feng's accumulation is shallow. The onlookers exchanged thoughts through voice transmission. They were all within Yulon City, protected by the city's numerous defensive formations, so they had no concern about being affected by the battle and could watch in leisure. Outside the east city gate, at this moment only Luo Feng and Elder Chenha stood there. No other cultivators dared to step beyond the gate. A newly promoted elder, yet so confident. Elder Chenha showed no anger. Let me guess, did you obtain some powerful secret treasure? Is that why you feel so assured? Luo Feng looked at him. You are too young, with too little experience. Elder Chenha lightly shook his head. If you ventured into the darkness sacred world, you would understand that your little stroke of fortune is nothing there. The darkness sacred world gathered the strongest cultivators from countless worlds. There were plenty of dazzling geniuses and quite a few who had earned treasures worth over 100,000 reward points from the infinite space treasury. The darkness sacred world does indeed gather countless experts. But Elder Chenha, in the darkness sacred world, what are you? Luo Feng looked at him. I have spent countless years in the darkness sacred world and made some progress, Elder Chenha said with a smile as he gazed at Luo Feng. Though I am nothing special there, I can still teach you a lesson. Use whatever techniques you have. Luo Feng looked at him. Elder Chenha casually stretched out a finger, and at the fingertip, a point of light appeared. This point of light rapidly expanded, instantly covering billions of kilometers, transforming into a vast formation diagram. Within the diagram, countless illusory grey birds began to manifest. Before taking action, Luo Feng had already gathered intelligence on his opponent, knowing that Elder Chenha had deep foundations and was skilled in multiple techniques. Formation diagrams were one of Elder Chenha's specialties. Elder Chenha was proficient in refining formation diagrams and Dao soldiers, possessing profound attainments in both. As Luo Feng stood there, a single thought caused an endless sea of blood to surge beneath his feet, while the Xianqing heaven annihilation diagram within him also began to operate. The boundless sea of blood naturally formed a formation. Accompanied by sharp screeches, countless illusory grey birds streaked through the void, pouncing toward Luo Feng and the endless sea of blood. Whoosh! Each illusory grey bird was like a sharp sword, instantly piercing through portions of the blood waves, but in the end, they were eroded and engulfed by the blood sea, vanishing completely. Your physical method is quite interesting. It can already rival a low-level chaotic origin life form at the late-stage God Emperor. Elder Chenha smiled, as the formation's power condensed into a massive grey bird. This enormous grey bird exuded terrifying might, and even Luo Feng faintly sensed a threat. Screech! A piercing cry echoed through the sky, and the enormous grey bird, moving at an astonishing speed, charged directly toward Luo Feng's body. Xianqing Heaven, the line between life and death. The formation condensed into a streak of annihilating light, instantly meeting the attack and forcibly piercing through the enormous grey bird, causing its form to distort and blur. Is this all you've got? Luo Feng stood there. Elder Chenha, where are your Dao soldiers? Where is your close combat method? Use all your tricks. A Dao soldier purely condensed from energy is indeed weak. Elder Chenha watched the scene. I happen to bring several hundred refined Dao soldiers with me today. You might as well give them a try. A wave of the hand. One by one, a flock of wooden carved birds shot out. As soon as they flew forward, they rapidly expanded in size, each one carrying an imposing might no less than the enormous grey bird from before. Several hundred Dao soldiers? Luo Feng watched solemnly. He could sense the power of these wooden carved birds. Though they seemed somewhat clumsy, their might was formidable, comparable to a late-stage God Emperor bloodline cultivator. But with several hundred of them combined, the threat was terrifying. Rumble. The hundreds of Dao soldiers were commanded through a formation, naturally forming a military battle formation. The moment it took shape, Luo Feng felt an ominous premonition. Stronger than I expected. Luo Feng thought to himself. When hundreds of massive birds charged out together, it was like an overwhelming tide of low-level chaotic origin life forms charging at him. His instincts immediately urged him to activate the indestructible heart. With the indestructible heart as the core, countless veins spread out, swiftly encompassing the entire endless blood sea. Luo Feng had a foreboding feeling. Without the indestructible heart, his indestructible blood sea body would undoubtedly suffer severe damage under the assault of these Dao soldiers. His energy reserves only amounted to a little over 200% perfect divine body. He couldn't afford to waste them carelessly. Rumble. Hundreds of massive birds, moving in perfect formation, their combined momentum so overwhelming that even the cultivators spectating in Yulon City trembled in fear. But suddenly, an immense blood wave, spanning billions of kilometers high, surged up. The blood wave, like a mountain, the blood wave blocked these massive birds. Without hesitation, the flock of birds crashed straight into it, instantly crushing countless blood waves. However, their imposing might was also rapidly declining. The indestructible blood sea body, strengthened by the indestructible heart, its offensive power has only increases its power by a few times. But its defense has increased by dozens of times. Even the full-force stomp of a chaotic origin wild hoof leader only drained 2% of my energy reserves. These Dao soldiers' assaults can't even harm me. Before the chaotic origin wild hoof leader, Luo Feng dared not claim to be truly indestructible. But among his peers, his indestructible nature was unquestionable. Boom! The battle erupted. Under the formation's command, the hundreds of Dao soldiers either charged like rolling thunder, condensed into the shape of a sword, or gathered to form an enormous axe that slashed down. Their might was truly terrifying. How is this possible? Elder Chenha furrowed his brows. I unleashed these Dao soldiers, yet I still haven't forced him to use that colossal claw. He remembered it clearly. Back when Luo Feng crushed Wu Yue in a single move, it was with an enormous furry claw. Even against my Dao soldier battle formation, he's still holding back his strength. Elder Chenha found it hard to believe. The Dao soldier battle formation was one of his standard tactics. He usually couldn't even be bothered to fight personally, just deploying some Dao soldiers was enough to deal with his enemies. Shatter. With the empowerment of the indestructible heart, the might of the Xianqing Heaven Annihilation formation surged dramatically. The endless blood sea rampaged fiercely, finally causing some of the wooden carved birds to break apart. Each of these birds had been personally carved by Elder Chenha, integrated into formation diagrams, and refined into Dao soldiers. More and more cultivators gathered to watch in Yulon City, including members of various powerful factions. Hundreds of Elder Chenha's Dao soldiers forming a battle formation, yet they are at a disadvantage. This Luo Feng, a newly promoted elder-level existence, is this strong? Many were shocked. Elder Chenha is probably going to use his true techniques now. Looks like he's about to go all out. The spectators were filled with anticipation. Elder Chenha stood there, casually extending his hand. In an instant, all the distant Dao soldiers returned to him, and with a simple flip of his palm, he stored them away. No wonder you're so confident. Elder Chenha chuckled. You blocked my Dao soldier battle formation so effortlessly. I truly underestimated you. Luo Feng stared at him. He understood very well that, in order to minimize the depletion of his indestructible blood seed body, he had already activated the indestructible heart against the Dao soldier formation. My fundamental Dao, honed over countless years of cultivation, is the path of formation diagrams, Elder Chenha mused. I use formation diagrams to refine Dao soldiers. These Dao soldiers have been my reliance throughout endless ages, ever since I climbed from weakness to power. But as a Dao cultivator, after reaching the late-stage God Emperor level, I encountered a bottleneck. No matter what I did, I couldn't reach perfection. I realized that as I groped my way forward in the darkness. I must have gone down the wrong path. Elder Chenha looked at Luo Feng. In the darkness sacred world, I studied the legacies of countless other cultivators. I learned at least 100 different inheritances, absorbed their essence, and fused them into myself. Although I mastered many techniques, I could never reach perfection. Elder Chenha smiled. Oh, but strictly speaking, the chaotic origin bloodline path that I later cultivated did achieve perfection. That path is the simplest. As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Chenha no longer restrained himself. His terrifying aura erupted completely, surging in all directions. Strands of silver secret patterns began to emerge on the surface of his skin. Chaotic origin bloodline. Half-chaotic origin level? Luo Feng looked at him. Luo Feng understood that once one dual cultivated with the bloodline path, the will of the bloodline would contaminate one's own will. Even the mysteries within the bloodline would merge with the mysteries of one's own Dao comprehension. This too was a form of Dao contamination. That was why, for Dao cultivators, once they integrated chaotic origin bloodline into their bodies, their chances of progressing in the path of Dao comprehension became exceedingly slim. From then on, they would typically follow the bloodline path as their primary route. In the darkness sacred world, I exchanged battle merits for a high-level chaotic origin life-form bloodline. Elder Chenha looked at Luo Feng. I fused it into my flesh, making it the foundation of my bloodline cultivation. I tapped its potential and refined the eternal night netherkite body. And for the sake of this bloodline physique, I even created a set technique, eternal night battle art. Elder Chenha stood there, his silver-grey aura sweeping across the heavens and earth, his presence terrifying, with an invisible will crashing forth. Although the aura of Elder Chenha was terrifying, Luo Feng did not mind, because he had long known that Elder Chenha's greatest strength lay in his close combat physical methods. Luo Feng even sighed inwardly, for in Elder Chenha, he saw the common predicament faced by cultivators of the darkness sacred world. After reaching a complete bottleneck in their cultivation, they would try everything possible to find a way that might allow them to jump out of their cage. Luo Feng thought about how Elder Chenha had studied hundreds of inheritances but ultimately still chose the path of bloodline power. On the bloodline path, Elder Chenha had already reached the half-chaotic origin level. Advancing further would mean the ultimate awakening and jumping out of the cage. At the very least, there was still a glimmer of hope for jump out of the cage. Encountering a bottleneck, enduring endless years without progress. Cultivators of the darkness sacred world will exhaust every possible method. Luo Feng thought to himself, I wonder what kind of bottleneck I will face in the future. Luo Feng, let's see whether your physical body or my eternal night netherkite body is stronger. As soon as Elder Chenha finished speaking, he vanished into thin air. However, Luo Feng's eye of life and death could still see a faint and obscure fluctuation flash. He had already arrived right in front of him. Elder Chenha's finger, like a blade, swept across Luo Feng's chest, a sharp edge slicing at his torso. Luo Feng watched this scene with great interest. The robe formed by his own condensed energy was similarly enhanced by the indestructible heart. Even though the sharp edge sliced across the chest of the robe, it failed to leave any trace on it. My physical body secret method, the indestructible blood sea body, is based on the blood-colored scales of the Star Tower. It already possesses some degree of indestructible, and with the indestructible heart reinforcing it, why would I fear you? Luo Feng clearly observed Elder Chenha's entire move. Elder Chenha moved like a hidden airflow. If Luo Feng did not possess the Eye of Life and Death, he would not be able to discern his opponent's movements at all. As he moved rapidly, he continuously sliced at Luo Feng's body. In the blink of an eye, he had cut more than 10 times, but he still failed to damage the robe in the slightest. Is this all Elder Chenha is capable of? Luo Feng remarked. Previously, Luo Feng had used the Endless Blood Sea in combination with a formation to block and annihilate hundreds of Dao soldiers. But this time, he was facing the enemy in his physical form. Your protective robe is indestructible? Elder Chenha appeared in the distance, surprised. You certainly have many treasures. But no matter how tough your robe is, the power your life form can withstand has a limit. In an instant, Elder Chenha's body underwent a transformation. His size expanded drastically, and on his back grew 3 pairs of silver-gray wings. His entire body was covered in silver-gray fur, ultimately transforming into a giant Birdman. This appearance excited the many onlookers on the walls of Yulon City. Eternal Night Nether Kite. So this is Elder Chenha's Eternal Night Nether Kite body? Many of the onlookers had purchased intelligence reports from the God Emperor Yi, which recorded details about this bloodline body of Elder Chenha. This gigantic silver-grey Birdman exuded powerful waves of will. After all, it was cultivated based on the bloodline of a high-level chaotic origin life form, carrying significant potential, and Elder Chenha's hope of jumping out of the cage. Luo Feng now became slightly more serious. Humph! Elder Chenha's 3 pairs of wings flapped, and in an instant, he was right in front of Luo Feng, striking down with a claw. Compared to Luo Feng's massive, furry claws, Elder Chenha's claws were far more ferocious. Boom! His attack came crashing down directly on Luo Feng's head. Luo Feng did not dodge at all. Instead, he raised a palm to meet the blow head-on, as if holding up the entire sky. In this direct clash, Elder Chenha aimed to deplete Luo Feng's energy through sheer overwhelming force. However, upon impact, Elder Chenha sensed the strength of Luo Feng's palm. Although Elder Chenha had a slight upper hand, the advantage was too small. A newly promoted elder with such a powerful body? Elder Chenha frowned slightly, and a pair of wings waved with the power to destroy the world. Luo Feng was brave enough to meet them with consecutive palms. Rise! With a mighty shout, Luo Feng unleashed the Endless Blood Sea, instantly creating massive waves. The surging blood sea engulfed Elder Chenha, while the Xianqing Heaven Annihilation Formation activated, binding and strangling him from all directions. Elder Chenha's enormous body was hindered. His wing movements slowed significantly, his explosive power weakened, and even his claw strikes lost much of their force. In direct confrontation with Luo Feng, he was now at a disadvantage. Elder Chenha, is this all you've got? Seems a bit weak. Luo Feng laughed loudly as he battled the massive Birdman. With the blood sea binding and strangling him, combined with Luo Feng's physical combat, Luo Feng indeed held the upper hand. The combination of his physical form and the endless blood sea was the complete state of the indestructible blood sea body. I'm actually at a disadvantage? Elder Chenha was unwilling to accept this. In Yulon City, he had dealt with many troubles, and as long as he used the Eternal Night Nether Kite body, it was always enough. According to his original plan, using the Eternal Night Nether Kite body should have been enough to kill Luo Feng's clone. But now, even after all this, he had not even forced out that colossal claw? If 50% strength isn't enough, then I'll use 100%. Elder Chenha's eyes gleamed with a blood-red light. He had never gone all out in Yulon City before. Of course, this powerful technique had only been perfected over hundreds of millions of epochs. Boom! Elder Chenha's skin beneath his hair began to reveal formation diagrams. Dense and intricate formation diagrams covered every inch of his skin, even appearing on the surface of his eyeballs. If one could peer inside his body, they would see that every drop of his blood had formation diagrams engraved on it. These formation diagrams were the core of how Elder Chenha had grown from weakness to his current power. He used them to refine Dao soldiers. He had even attempted to treat his own eternal night netherkite body as a Dao soldier, engraving countless formation diagrams onto his flesh, seeking to dig deeper into his bloodline's potential and achieve the ultimate awakening. Although he was still far from that ultimate awakening, the combination of his formation diagrams and the eternal night netherkite body had indeed greatly enhanced its power. Luo Feng's bionic eye of destruction couldn't see inside Elder Chenha's body, but he could see the dense formation diagrams appearing on his skin beneath his hair. These formation diagrams radiated golden light, and Elder Chenha's aura was surging explosively. This strength? Elder Chenha has such power? At this moment, among the onlookers on Yulon City's walls, there were several clones of other elders. They were familiar with Elder Chenha and immediately recognized this already surpassed the recorded information about Elder Chenha's abilities. His skin is engraved with countless formation diagrams. It seems he has successfully fused the formation diagrams with the eternal night netherkite body. These few elders were secretly astonished. The Tao had commonalities, different cultivation systems could indeed be integrated, but achieving that was extremely difficult. A faint golden light circulated over Elder Chenha's body. His blood-red eyes, infused with formation diagrams, locked onto Luo Feng as he spoke thunderously. This is my first time going all out in Yulon City. Luo Feng, this is your honor as well. The moment his words fell. Boom! Elder Chenha's massive 3 pairs of wings trembled, instantly shredding apart the boundless blood sea that had been encircling him. His terrifying claws had already landed on Luo Feng's chest. Luo Feng felt the terrifying impact and was involuntarily sent flying, crashing into the blood sea. Boom! At this moment, Elder Chenha, exuding a monstrous aura, was relentlessly pursuing Luo Feng. With a single claw, he could make countless blood waves explode. With the sweep of his wings, vast stretches of the blood sea shattered and surged. The blood sea was already being consumed. I got injured? Luo Feng was shocked. Despite having support of indestructible heart, Elder Chenha was still able to wound him. Luo Feng also realized that he could not underestimate the experts across countless worlds. Each of these powerful figures had their own unique opportunities. He had deliberately avoided learning any partial chaotic origin inheritances so that he could explore his own path without interference. However, those who cultivated numerous inheritances absorbed the wisdom of many and integrated it into themselves. This was also a powerful path. Compared to these elders who have existed for endless epochs, my accumulation is still shallow. Luo Feng was well aware that these elders primarily roamed the darkness sacred world, where they lacked access to some treasures from the 9 Rivers sacred world, making their overall strength relatively weaker. Boom! 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 Elder Chenha's enormous 3 pairs of wings exuded terrifying power, causing countless blood waves to surge in all directions. His claws enveloped Luo Feng, pressing down with overwhelming force. Elder Chenha, your accumulation is indeed deeper than mine. Luo Feng spoke. This battle can end here as well. Boom! Luo Feng suddenly stretched out his hand. His arm expanded, and his hand transformed into an enormous furry claw. With the blessing of his indestructible heart, Luo Feng's power could already rival Elder Chenha's eternal night netherkite body. Good. At this moment, Luo Feng wielded this massive claw with such power that his divine energy activated the secret patterns within, unleashing an astonishing might. Compared to fighting barehanded, using this claw caused his power to surge dramatically. Elder Chenha saw the massive, furry claw and immediately realized its power was immense. Just one strike from this claw could even tear through the scales of a chaotic origin wild hoof leader. Boom! With one claw strike, heaven and earth were split apart, forming a separate world cage. Trapped inside this world cage, Elder Chenha had nowhere to dodge and could only resist with all his might. Boom! The enormous claw ripped through, tearing apart one of Elder Chenha's wings. Blood splattered, and Elder Chenha revealed a look of helplessness. From just one exchange, he knew the difference was too vast. There was no way to fight. At least I forced you to reveal this claw. Elder Chenha sighed inwardly. He had long known that Luo Feng possessed this enormous furry claw, but Luo Feng had never used it. This had left Elder Chenha feeling quite stifled. It was only at the very last moment that he had finally forced Luo Feng to unleash this move. Although he had lost, Elder Chenha still felt somewhat satisfied. I lost, Luo Feng. Elder Chenha retracted his wings, clasped his hands, and with a flash, transformed into a golden light, piercing through the world membrane of Luo Feng's palm world and instantly fleeing into the eastern city gate. Seeing this, Luo Feng's right hand immediately returned to normal, and the boundless blood sea gathered back into his body, once again transforming him into an ordinary black-haired man. However, at this moment, the many onlookers on Yulon City's walls were staring in disbelief at that black-haired man. Just now, in front of that enormous claw, even Elder Chenha had been instantly gravely wounded and forced to flee. This video will end here.